The 4.3 banners have been revealed, and they're actually looking way better than I thought. Let's talk about whether they're worth wishing on for you. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. Starting off with the 5 stars, we'll talk about their value for your account, then move on to the 4 stars, and finally talk about the weapon banner. So both Ayaka and Navia fall into the category of build if you like them characters. I don't like to call anyone in Genshin must pull, but I like to call them account unlock characters. They're basically the staple 5 stars that just open up so many team comps for you, and Navia and Ayaka are not one of those characters. However, both of them I think are really strong. I just made a full complete guide on Ayaka, so if you want more information, check it out. I'll have it linked in the cards at the end, but the TLDR is that she is very strong, a little bit difficult to use. Make sure you enjoy her playstyle, as with every character before pulling. She does have a funky dash, you have to make sure you line up her burst. There is the misconception that she's not good against bosses. I find her very good against bosses because she does all her damage in a 5-second window. So as long as you can find that 5-second window where the boss isn't moving, you unload your damage, bada bing, bada boom. Alternatively, you can use her in freeze to freeze enemies in place to hit all of them. But your mileage may vary depending on how willing you are to learn her playstyle to line enemies up. She's not for everyone is basically what I'm saying. But if you love her, she is omega strong. She is along the lines of all the top DPSs in the game. So in terms of value, not that great value. Like cryo isn't that important of an element. You don't need cryo to progress in the abyss pretty much ever. Dendro pretty much does anything cryo did but better in terms of shield breaking and stuff like that. But she is a super strong unit. She's definitely the best cryo. And again, check out my Ayaka guide if you want more. For Navia, I guess somewhat similar, and she's probably going to be the very best Geo damage dealer, if not the best Geo overall. Although it's looking like it might be a bit hard to find a perfect team for her. She kind of feels like a unit released before her time. That may be Kiori, which we learned is most likely a Geo unit, and she'll be coming out most likely soon since she's in this upcoming event. Perhaps that'll be another partner, but I'll be doing a full deep dive on Navia because she doesn't have any set teams. I'll be testing her with everyone. You can expect another I tested Navia on 50 teams video because I'm going to have access to the server early, so I'll be able to test all day long. I'll be locked in my room. I won't look at my kids. I'll only have eyes for Navia for the next 24 hours to bring you guys the best content. So make sure to subscribe for that. But I think she's going to be a great pull. I think she's going to be really satisfying. She does all of her damage with her skill. It's very front loaded. It's very fun. I think people are going to be very satisfied with her. I think people are going to have a lot of fun with her. I think she's going to be very flexible. The only sadness in my heart is that she has to work with Bennett, and a lot of people are tired of Bennett. It would be nice to have other premium options other than Bennett, but I think she's going to be awesome. I'm really excited. Now let's talk about the 4 stars. The 4 stars are a lot better for Ayaka than they are for Navia. You already right here, you have a freeze team pretty much. Like Candace is kind of like, she can work, but it's kind of cope option for a freeze team. But the other 2 characters are awesome. If you replace, well, I guess if you wished on Farina, then using Farina, Charlotte, Sucrose is really good. You can definitely use Sucrose with Rosaria. Aside from Shenhe, Rosaria is probably Ayaka's best cryo support. I mean, maybe Ganyu, I don't know. But definitely the best 4-star cryo support for Ayaka. And you can slap Sing Cho in the first slot if you happen to have Kokomi, if you have Farina. Like, this is a great banner. Or you can just run Candace. It doesn't have a healer, so kind of sus. But I'm excited to wish on the Navia banner personally because I can get more copies of Candace. Finally, I'll hopefully be able to, well, no, I'm going to get C6. There's no doubt about it. We'll be getting C6 Candace. I think I only need 2 more copies. So if you're wishing for Ayaka on this banner, you're definitely winning, unless you already have Ayaka's premium team, which is made up of 5 stars, so it really doesn't matter what 4 stars you're getting anyways. But unless you want that, if you're just a free-to-play, or if you're new to the game, looking to pick up an Ayaka and use her, boom, you've got a team right here. Fantastic. For Navia, on the other hand, like, you really wanted to see Bennett on this banner. Like, that really is what you want to see. She can create Crystallize with Rosaria and Candace. I don't know how her infusion is going to work with Candace. I think it probably can't be overwritten, so and you're going to shatter with her Geo Claymore attack. So this is really a very confusing 4-star banner for Navia. Like, it's fine because Sucrose is such a strong unit at a baseline, right? Like I talked about how these units work with Ayaka, how they synergize, but at a baseline, like Sucrose is just one of the extremely strong units. You can use her on maybe Aggravate, right? You can run a Bennett Xiangling comp on one side with Navia, and then run Sucrose on your Aggravate comp on the other side, and you've got your team. Like Sucrose is such a huge win on a banner. Like she's almost never on banners. Like when was the last time? I don't know when the last time Sucrose was on a banner, but it was hella long ago. And if you don't have Kazuha, if you don't have Venti, like you're struggling without an Animo grouper to pick up a Sucrose. Even though you won't be using Sucrose with Navia, you'll be almost dead. If you don't have Kazuha or Venti or something like that, you'll be putting Sucrose on your other side. And this is a huge win. Like Sucrose alone makes this a very, very valuable banner, despite it not working very well for Navia specifically. And Rosaria is a great character as well. So overall, I think Rosaria fallen off maybe a little bit these days, but Reverse Melt can still 36 star the Abyss, although you're not building Reverse Melt at the same time as Navia. So anyways, great banners. If you're happen to needing these characters, if you're looking for Navia and you don't have an Animo character, like huge win. And if you do have an Animo character, you're pretty much set already, so don't worry about it. I always recommend don't worry too much about the 5 stars, or about the 4 stars, sorry. Focus on the 5 stars. If you love Navia, this is a great banner to get her on. No point in skipping because you're hoping for like Bennett or something. You can always buy Bennett from the shop. Now let's move on to the weapon banner. Oh boy, let's start off with her axe, because it looks incredible. Like my wife is making me pull for the weapon banner, which if you've seen her watch me spend money on the weapon banner, you know how yikes it is. But she loves that weapon so much, and she's not going to be getting Navia, that she's like, you have to get that weapon so I can live vicariously through you. So I will be getting the weapon. It looks amazing, but let's see if it's even worth it. It's a crit rate ascension stat, which is good. For those of you who are in my live stream, I accidentally gave the misinformation that Navia scaled with crit rate, or ascended with crit rate. Sorry, she actually ascends with crit damage. So as having a crit rate substat is fine here. It's the description and the passive that's a little bit worrying. Increases attack by 20%. That's good. When characters in your party obtain elemental shards from crystallized reactions, the equipping character will gain 1 seal, increasing elemental skill damage by 18%. This is unfortunate because this passive is very, very niche. Not only does it have to create a crystallize, it only buffs skill damage. And I mean, I guess that's good for Diluc on a Zhongli team, but like Omega Cope, the seal lasts for 15 seconds and the equipper may have 2 seals at once, so 36% damage. I mean, it's going to be good. All of the equipper seals will disappear 0.2 seconds after the elemental skill deals damage. So I think the problem with this is also that the Serpent Spine is so good. It gives crit rate as well. It gives elemental damage bonus. If you're using Bennett, like this is a high base attack, so the high base attack isn't going to be as good. This is going to be a bigger upgrade if you're not using Bennett, which if I had to guess, the future, like this is kind of my guess, because what's happening here is this is barely an upgrade over Serpent Spine if you are using Bennett. Navia's best team uses Bennett right now. My guess is that in the future, Navia will get a premium team that doesn't use Bennett, but it'll be her best team, and therefore this weapon will give her the most value. That's my prediction. We can talk in 6 months whether I was right or not after her premium team has been presumably released, but that's my prediction. In the current, it's not worth wishing for this banner for now, unless either 1, you just love it, 2, you just want what's best no matter what, 3, you'd rather do this than R5 Battle Pass, because let's be real, here's the other thing about Serpent Spine. R5 Battle Pass is actually pretty expensive to get 5 copies of the Battle Pass. Secondly, you have to actually get the benefit from the Battle Pass, you have to run with Zhongli, probably, which is mostly going to be good, but sometimes maybe you don't want to run with Zhongli. But number 3, you have to wait for the stacks to stack. I don't have the patience for that. I don't even wait for my stacks to stack. It's a pain in the butt. I don't like playing that way. So there are this is also a more comfortable option. Like this will always give the best results, whereas Serpent Spine, there's like a bunch of conditions. You have to use Bennett, you have to use Zhongli, and you have to wait for the stacks. That's kind of Plus, if you want to be getting this weapon, now is the time to do so, because it's beside the Mist Splitter Reforged, probably the best weapon in the entire game. And they know it too, because these 5 stars are kind of sus. Like, these are pretty yikes. Or sorry, the 4 stars are pretty yikes. So Mist Splitter Reforged, obviously it's Ayaka's best weapon, but it's also just the best generalist sword because it works with all the sword characters. It gives elemental damage bonus. It's just really good, and it works with freeze characters or characters that hold the Marie Chasset artifact set because crit damage is just a bit better than crit rate. The Jade Cutter can be just as valuable for a lot of accounts, but Mist Splitter just edges it out and sits on top. So if you're wanting to ever go for this Claymore, now is the time, because if you lose to the Mist Splitter, that's a win, right? Just make sure you have 210 wishes, or at least 200, maybe at least 190 going into this banner, because you're going to accumulate some star glitter. So at least make sure you have 190 wishes going into this banner. Don't just, you know, wish, unless you're okay with getting either weapon. If you're an Ayaka wanter, because this is Ayaka's best weapon, it's a pretty big upgrade. It's not a huge upgrade over the Finale of the Deep. It's only 15%. It's 25% better than the Aminoma, but it's not nearly as crazy of an upgrade over the Finale as it was over the Aminoma, so you can get away with it more. But if you are an Ayaka wanter, like, hopefully you also want Navia, because aside from Navia, this Claymore, like, isn't really good for anyone. Like, it's an okay stat stick on an attack scaling Claymore user, but most of them, like, Eula's not doing damage from her skill, like Diluc kind of. Like, I'll probably use it on my Diluc, right? I'll probably use it on my Diluc, but even then you're not getting the crystallize unless you're using Zhongli. So and then when we look at the 4 stars, it's even more sus, because Akumaru, like, that's a good weapon. Like, that's probably one of the better Claymores. That's one of Beto's best weapons. The Moon's Moon is okay. It's like good for Ganyu, for Kujosara, like Ganyu and Freeze when you're focused on a burst. Kujosara, the Flute, one of the worst weapons in the game, up there with Eye of Perception. Dragon's Bane's a good weapon, but unless you're using on Hu Tao, you don't want refinements. Like, just R1 is fine for Toma or for Raiden. And Fav Codex is a good weapon. It used to be kind of sus, but now with Baiju, with Nahida, with who else? I can't remember who else, but other people, Fav Codex is good. So TLDR, be very careful if you're an Ayaka wanter, if you're a Mist Splitter wanter for Ayaka, but go ham if you're a Verdict wanter for Navia, because the Mist Splitter is so good. Let me know who you're wishing for. Just be also aware, Lantern Rite is coming up in the very next patch. They have such banger banners for Lantern Rite every single time. They're always amazing. The new characters are always really good. Well, is that true? They had Shenhe for the one that I started with, but at least the banners are always banger. They might introduce 3 banner phases. Who knows? That's my prediction. So just be careful with what's coming up. Obviously, Raiden Shogun's coming up next patch, or next banner, so be careful if you want her. Make sure you keep your future characters in mind. But I want to also be here to get excited for those of you who do want to wish for Navia. I think she's going to be a great pull if you want to get her. I also think that it's not the worst to have a Geo character on your account for when the Golden Wolf Lord's in the Abyss. I wouldn't wish for a 5-star Geo unit just for that, but it's a nice bonus. I'm really excited to get her. I would be getting her even if I wasn't a content creator, because I just think her kit looks really unique and very fun and very strong. Let me know who you're getting. Take care. Bye for now.